Hey, welcome back to Old Iron Acres. All right, everyone ready? Take one and action. Today, I've got a new revenue stream for anybody, but I bet it's not one you've thought of before. We just rented out our whole property as a movie set. So do you want to hear the truth about this? You can't handle the truth. I bet you can. So let me tell you as much as I can about it. Here we go. So I probably know your first question. What is the name of the film? What's it about? I can't tell you yet. Well, but I can talk about other things. So I can't say the name of the film or who's in it, but you might recognize some of the actors. Maybe some of you really good internet sleuths out there might be able to figure out what film was shot here. You might even have some good guesses, and I think you should leave them in the comments down below. Let's see who can really figure things out. And hey, it'll be fun to see what you all come up with. Usually when you do filming, you have to wait until the movie's released, and then I can talk about it freely. It can take between 9 months and 2 years for a film to come out. So I'm thinking that the movie will be out in about a year. So maybe by next spring or summer, this should be out and in theaters around the world. And I'm really looking forward to it. It sounded like it was gonna be a fun one. Then I'll be able to talk about it a lot more once it's released. So we'll have a follow-up to this where I can talk a little more about our experiences and name people and things like that. And maybe we can even get a shot from the movie and show where it is on our property here. I could talk about some general things right now, like how you could make some money renting out your property to a film crew. So are you ready? Let's go get into some of the details. In the last video, I mentioned that I was doing some bush hogging, getting the grass down, and I noticed a box of bullets in the field. Organized nicely now into my children's green pail. So after finding these bullets, it really kind of freaked me out. I don't know why they would be in the middle of the property. I thought maybe somebody was out hunting on the property, but I couldn't really figure it out, because usually it's friends, guests, or our tenant farmer, or a handful of deer, coyote, groundhogs, rabbits, squirrels, birds, things like that. So none of those typically carry bullets with them. And then I remembered, we had just rented our property to a film crew, and that was about where the armorer's car was parked. The armorer is in charge of all of the guns and bullets for a film, but it still didn't make sense. Why would metal-tipped bullets be in the field? They looked like live rounds. I got to admit, I was completely confused. So I have a very smart employee who loves guns and weapons and bullets, and he figured it out. So one of the first things we did with them was we shook the bullets, and we thought, oh, they jiggle a little, like they shake. So the gunpowder must have gotten wet on them and compacted up into a ball. But with more thinking, these had a little extra something to them when you shake them. I'm no gun expert, but apparently when you shake them, it doesn't have the same feel as dry powder ones. I don't know if you can hear that, but they have a very metallic sound. And so my employee asked if he could pull one apart. And sure enough, he pulled it apart, and inside each one of these is a metal BB. So that was pretty cool to find out. And it's kind of a memento for me of the film, I guess. Luckily, no one was hurt that I know of shooting this film. Of the 3 days they filmed on our property, there was one in particular day with a lot of gunfire. So all of these bullets are Hollywood blanks. So they shot on the property for 3 days, and they had approximately 3 days of prep and wrap. On the property here, they had about 12 to 14 large trailers. Hollywood trailers, big trailers, star trailers, makeup trailers, director's trailers, offices for the producers, the honey wagon, look that one up. They had a catering truck, Mexican food, with free breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Craft services was here. They had a motorcycle and an ATV and about 2 to 5 show cars of all various kinds, of which anyone that saw them said, "That's cool. Can I have that when they're done?" And how could I forget? There were probably 60 to 80 crew cars, all of the crew that makes the movie magic happen. Grips, gaffers, PAs, directors, assistants to this person, assistants to that person. Everybody was here. So if you're not familiar with our property, we have 73.5 acres, and it varies all over the place with different types of property, from hills and fields to forests and creeks. And they were interested in about 4 different locations for shooting on the property. It does help to have a nice large property, but this can be done in small neighborhoods too, so you don't have to have a farm to make a film crew come to your house. The benefit is that they could get everything on this property and be enclosed and protected from the public. So they really loved it because they could set up everywhere and take advantage of the space to set up and prep and organize the crew and get ready for all of their shots. And they didn't have to spend a lot of time commuting and driving back and forth from location to location. They came here and just stayed on the property and seemed to enjoy it a lot. I certainly hope they did. They'd be welcome back anytime. It certainly helps to have a bigger property. We've got approximately 73.5 acres to run around and have fun on. Find shots anywhere. We're gonna need a bigger boat. So some exciting things happened. My wife got to meet the directors, actors, and crew members, and everyone was super nice, as they should be because they're guests on our property, right? This was very fun to happen, basically in our backyard, and get to watch all that's going on around us. I had had experience with this in my past, but my wife never had, and I was so thrilled to experience this with her on our property. But with all these people wandering everywhere on our property, I had to remind the kids, "Oh, I am your father." So there was a little bit more to it than just the 3 days of filming. We had many days, probably 6 or so, where the location manager came out to what they call scouting the property. And then there were a few days where the directors came out and scouted the property. They would come out and photograph all of the features that they thought that the different people on the crew would want to see so that they could learn about what we had to offer. So we've never really been able to show the property to anybody in under a couple of hours. So I often took them in the gator or walked with them. Some of the trips were less than that, but all of the trips took a little bit of time out of my day. And that's not time that you're paid for. But it's always fun to see somebody who's excited to see your property and show them around and what you have. And they're always appreciative of it. So our property is very versatile, as is everybody's. But ours has a lot of hills, woods, forest, fields, streams, old barns, newer buildings, roads, driveways. It's got a mix. One feature that would make properties very, very good for filming is to have good access. So the more roads you have going through that they can get within several feet or no more than 100 feet of any feature always is something that they were looking for. They love when they don't have to go far off of a road to get a shot. You'd be amazed how they can only take a step into the woods and turn the camera towards the woods, and on screen it will feel like you're deep in acres and acres of land. Okay, so this brings us to the next question that everyone wants to ask. The money, the money, the money, the money. Money, money, money. So there is a rule of thumb that I found online. Said rule of thumb is that typically your property will rent to a film production company for 1 month's mortgage. That number should be close to what you're compensated for a day of filming. I'm not really sure if that's completely correct, but it is a good rule of thumb or guide. Then that leaves you with load, prep, and strike days. And typically that's a third to a half of a filming day. Of course, you'll have to do the math yourself, and you'll have to know what you're comfortable with. Obviously, there are variables such as maybe they're there for 5 days. That could be some serious money. Maybe they're there for 10, or maybe it's just a half a day. So you have to judge, just like bidding on a job, what you think it's worth. I've always learned while negotiating to let them throw out the first number, but I will say they'll throw out a low one if you let them go first. They're used to throwing out numbers. The only other thing I can say on that is your mileage may vary. You may want more money. You may have a low budget film that doesn't have the budget. Maybe you've got Brad Pitt's next film. Who knows? But what I can tell you is it's your property. You might want to build a relationship, or you might lower the price to start establishing yourself in the marketplace to bring in more projects. Oftentimes, when you get to know a location manager, they like to put your property into what they call their book, which means that when somebody else calls them and says, "Hey, I've got a film happening in Kentucky. Do you know of a good farm?" They'll go to their files and pull your name, address, contact information, and photos out to share with that other person. So, having a good relationship with them can bring them back again and again. It is your property, so build the reputation that you want to be. One thing I will say is every show, movie, music video, commercial will be unique. Their contracts will be unique, and what they're trying to achieve will be unique. So I just wanted to say, having a film crew on your property is fun and exciting, but there are things to beware of. So with that many vehicles running all over your property and people, they can do some damage. You will get tire ruts and wear marks. You will get people backing into places where you didn't approve. You have to be a little acceptive of the chaos. That doesn't mean that you have to be acceptive of damage to your property. We got very lucky that there wasn't any major damage to anything other than somebody decided to borrow a deer skull from us. It was somewhat sentimental to me, but if that's what the cost was for the money that I received in compensation and the fun that we had filming on the property, so be it. Now, I have heard some horror stories of people renting their house with a film crew inside. And when you have that many people going through doors, they will often put paper, you need to request that they put paper down to protect the floors and carpets and things like that. But the wear and tear just happens. So it's just something to think about. They also sometimes put up little tacks and to hold things up, or tape, and that can be all over the place where you don't expect it to be. They try to clean up and fix things, but it's so-so. Your mileage may vary. So what do you have to do to try to start having a filming crew on your property? Well, one great thing to do is many states have a film commission where you can sign up and put pictures of your property. So if you have some great photos, that might be something you could email to somebody to pique their interest. That's a great thing to have. Many states give a tax credit to these film companies, and they love using local locations because the money they spend towards you goes towards their tax credits. Get some great shots of your property, or maybe download a map off of Google or some other website. It's always nice to have a map for yourself anyway. You can Google location managers in your local state, and feel free to reach out and contact them. They're usually quite friendly. They would be good people to send a couple of your photos and say you're interested in filming on your property. But one piece of advice I have on that is beware of location agents. I'm not saying that they're all bad. I'm not even saying that they're bad, but I feel that they kind of watch out for themselves And they typically want to lock themselves into an exclusive deal with you, where if anyone films on your property, they have to have a cut of the profit. My advice would be just to never pay anyone to represent your property. They need to pay you. Filming on your property is a pretty exciting thing. It's an awesome conversation piece. So I wish that anyone that gives this type of revenue a try, the best of success. To infinity and beyond! Thanks for watching and putting up with my bad humor. Please feel free to subscribe down here and ring that bell. That really helps me and keeps me going. I hope you've enjoyed this video and come on back for another. Oh, and I would really love it if you would leave me a comment after subscribing and ringing the bell. That would be awesome on this one. Let me know if you have any questions on this topic and I'll try to help. See y'all on the next one. Take two, hop. Take three, hop. I'll be back.